we think Nazi is synonymous with German. That's not true. That is not true. Only 1 in 10 of the military, soldiers, airmen of Germany in World War II, only 1 in 10 were Nazis. The rest of them were just the military people, and they honestly, most of them wanted this done quick. Like, let's get this over with. Let's quit. It was the Nazis that were those that were really for this thing, that were really duped by Adolf Hitler. Okay, now the same thing in Iran. It's called the Republican Guard. Their equivalent, those that are most loyal to the extremist Muslim regime, are called the Republican Guard. It's only probably a third of their army, but those are the ones that are least likely to lay down their arms. Even though Mr. Trump has said, if you lay down your arms right now, then we'll absolve you of any wrongdoing here. This thing can be over quick if you would just lay down your arms. But so whenever you hear the IRGC, that's the Iranian Republican Guard. And Saddam Hussein had the same thing in Iraq during the Iraqi War. He had those that were most loyal to him, least likely to lay down their arms or surrender or give up, most extreme, and the most highly trained too, to be honest. Okay, he goes on. Some years ago, the foreign minister of Spain, I mentioned this the other day, but we didn't know who it was. The foreign minister of Spain visited Ayatollah in his complex, and as he was fixing tea for himself, the foreign minister asked the Ayatollah what he thought about every morning when he awoke. And the Ayatollah replied to the Spanish foreign minister, "I think about the destruction of Israel every morning." He was destroyed, Michael Garamy says, he was destroyed by the Holy One of Israel and never saw the war because he got killed right in the beginning. This reminds me of Haman, the wicked man who had built a gallows to hang Mordecai and destroy all the Jews. And yet the Holy One of Israel turned Haman's plans against him, and he became hung himself. This caused the Jews to celebrate the time of their salvation, which they called Purim. Ayatollah was also killed right around the time of Purim. We just passed Purim. Now that is very, I don't know, at least ironic, if not much more than that. You know the story of Haman. It's in the book of Esther. Haman was from what country? Iran. Persia. That is where this was. Now, Susa, where they were, was way down in the south of Iran, not up in the north by Tehran. But the stories are the same, and it's happening the same way. God, according to Michael Garamy, who is an Iranian, he's Persian, is saying God's doing it again. He's protecting Israel and withstanding on behalf of Israel. By the way, there's no real way to explain how a country the size of New Jersey can take on multiple enemies in different directions at the same time. And they've been doing this since their inception in 1948. 1967, well, they're in the War of Independence in 1948, but then in 1967, again in 1973. And they've just come off of this big Gaza conflict we're all aware of. Like just now, they should be really worn out and tired. And now they're bombing in Lebanon again, so that Hezbollah, an Iranian proxy, does not restart itself. And that's Israel. God is definitely on the side of Israel. I think he said that. Did he not say that? I think he's for Israel. Since last Saturday, the U.S. and Israel, in a joint operation, have been pounding Iranian missile launchers, nuclear bases, and IRGC headquarters. The Intelligence Directorate headquarters as well. And then he names all kinds of other headquarters here. The Basif, some other political party there. Quds Force headquarters. These are elite forces headquarters. And the Internal Security Forces headquarters. Cyber Warfare headquarters, the headquarters of the Unit of Internal Security responsible for suppressing protests. So far, they've struck more than 2,000 targets, sunk 30 naval vessels of the Iranian Navy. That's much higher than that now. I think it's well over 40. And it has been reported that more than 3,000 Iranian soldiers, including some commanders, have been killed so far. On the other hand, Iran has been launching ballistic missiles and drones not only toward Israel, but also toward American bases in Bahrain, Iraq, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, Cyprus, that's British, Azerbaijan, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. 12 other countries have been attacked by Iran, probably with the hopes that they would turn on America and Israel, and it's had the opposite effect. These countries are pretty upset with Iran and vowing to get involved if need be. I saw a report. I did not know it was to this extent. It was reported of 8 countries, how many times they had been attacked by missiles or drones out of Iran. Cyprus, I don't know if you know where Cyprus is. Paul and Barnabas were on Cyprus in their first missionary journey. That's where Barnabas was from, by the way. Barnabas was from Cyprus. They've been hit 5 times. Oman has been hit 8. They were the country that was trying to negotiate and broker a peace deal. Oman. They've been hit 8 times. Saudi Arabia has been hit 19 times. Jordan has been hit 49 times. You know, what's Jordan's part in this? Well, they're the ones allowing Israeli jets to fly over their country to get to Iran. So they've been hit 49 times. Israel, 131 times. Qatar, 153. Bahrain, 166. Kuwait, 562. That's where I think that's where the American soldiers died. And the United Arab Emirates, 1,138 times. United Arab Emirates. It's much more significant than we're hearing, even. There are a lot. Of course, it said the stockpile is about 3,000 missiles, I think. Missiles and drones and whatnot. But now the factories have been eliminated, and the places underground where these missiles and drones are held now, the United States is using deeper munitions to destroy at least the entryways. They're like hidden under mountains so that they can't even get at their drones and missiles to launch them. He goes on, Iran also struck an air base in the United Arab Emirates with drones. They have bombed the oil infrastructure in Saudi Arabia and in the United Arab Emirates, closed the Strait of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf, which has caused oil prices to increase about 15% and gas about 50% in some places. You see the gas prices going up? Okay, that's why. Arabs in Gulf countries are so angry with Iran's behavior and are helping the U.S. in this war and planning to join the war to strike Iran. England, France, and Germany offered the U.S. help with their own fighter jets and aircraft carriers. Now there's a little bit more to that than he's portraying here. All of our allies, aside from Israel, have not been interested in helping at all. Canada, at least initially, and Australia said that they were supporting, verbally supporting. much of the rest of the world, and Canada later waffled on it, is opposed to what the United States is doing. I think they're concerned, as England is, about the numbers of Muslims that they have in their country. Okay, the mayor of New York City, but the mayor of London as well, is really the same as the mayor of New York City. Many of these European countries have gifted, and the United States it's happening here as well, some of the major positions to foreigners in this fashion, and are very then concerned, just though, because Cyprus has been hit, whereas a British naval base, a British Air Force base, Britain has finally decided that they would start to, at least defend themselves, and they have 2 aircraft carriers, and they said, well, we're going to at least send one of them. So they've given that aircraft carrier 5 days to make ready to sail to the Mediterranean. My understanding is the last time that these 2 aircraft carriers of Britain attempted to go out and do joint naval exercises with other allied countries, they both broke down and had to be towed back into harbor. That's a true story. I'm not just saying that. They do not have the military budget, the funds necessary to keep them operational. 5 days would not be enough to get that aircraft. They're fairly new, too, small. But anyway, it is interesting, the rift between the United States and our own allies, those that just 80 years ago we came to their aid when they were under grievous attack by Germany and their allies. Let's see if we've got any. This war has engaged so many countries, not only in the Middle East, but also Europe and Australia. Sudan also offered to help Iran in this war if the U.S. puts boots on the ground. So there's other countries that are willing to aid. Muslim countries are willing to send they say they would, to Iran to help protect them and the current regime. If this is the case, it looks like countries from all 5 continents are in this war. This war may lead to the rise of the Antichrist, who will secure peace between Israel and many nations. No date setting, but is the rapture just around the corner? It could be. Even so come, Lord Jesus. Amen, he says. Since last Saturday, the internet in Iran has been disconnected again due to the war, and I haven't heard much from my disciples or my family. 2 of my disciples were able to send me messages yesterday, and they are doing fine. The Iranian people are super happy with the United States and Israeli strikes. When Ayatollah was eliminated, people were literally dancing in the streets and celebrating. So many videos came out of Iran showing how people are excited with the war, and many shout and say, "Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Bibi." Everybody know who Bibi is? I think we know Netanyahu. Almost 2 months had passed after Trump said, help is on the way, and the people were losing hope. But they were thankful that whenever Trump says something, he always keeps his promises. In the last 47 years, many U.S. presidents wasted the opportunity to deal with the Iranian regime. In fact, many of them empowered the Iranian regime by releasing sanctions and even giving $100 billion in cash to the regime, which helped them to invest more in terrorism around the world. In the past 47 years, the Iranian regime killed hundreds, if not thousands, of U.S. soldiers abroad, but I am thankful that finally a president came who understood the evil that Iran has been creating around the world. He's talking about his own country. So this is not an American saying this. One who cared about the security and safety of America and decided to deal with the regime of Iran. You have no idea how grateful we Iranians are for Trump and Netanyahu. May the Lord bring justice and righteousness in this war and turn it into good and the salvation of souls. That is the key. That's what we must be praying for. That, while Satan would just cause chaos and mayhem, but these things, even in the United States, soldiers that are over there, they say there's not an atheist in a foxhole, right? Do you know what that means? Yeah. Okay. I've read many accounts of battles on land and sea and in the air in World War II. But the concussions in World War II of mortar shells and various things going off could actually make a soldier go out of his mind. You and I just have no idea. We see fireworks up in the sky on July and think, oh, that's cute and fun. I always look at it and go, I wonder if this is anywhere near or how close this is to live fire. But when there are significant explosions nearby continuously, that definitely impacts infantrymen who are on the ground in foxholes attempting to protect themselves, just the concussions themselves. And, even those that are profane against God at that time begin to rethink just how vulnerable they are. And it becomes a real opportunity for somebody with a testimony, somebody that has the gospel, to give the gospel. And so during war, even on the winning side, during the American Civil War, there were revivals in both armies. People got saved, men got saved, that would never have gotten saved if the Civil War had never happened. If they were working the farms or their plantations or whatever, they would have been as profane as ever. But D.L. Moody, for example, in the North, was a chaplain during the Civil War and led many, many Northern soldiers. There were equal revivals in the South. And so we could pray definitely that the gospel would be very strong and powerful in these days. All right, any questions or thoughts about this? I just want you to be educated on what's going on. Yes, Hannah. Okay, good question. Good question. Russia, of course, Putin, who's embroiled right now. Listen, if he wasn't bogged down in Ukraine, he would be threatening to get involved firsthand. He's done that before. When Israel has been attacked by Egypt and Syria, they were armed by the Soviet Union. And when Israel would begin to win, then the Soviet Union would threaten to bring their own soldiers down there and go after Israel themselves. It was always the United States that kept that from happening, from a first-hand conflict with Russia. Putin just the other day called I believe it's the president now of Iran, the president. They have a president, Pahlavi. He's more of a figurehead. It's the supreme leader of Iran who is the one who has dictatorial power. But he's gone, he's dead. And several now that they've tried to appoint to that, including the Ayatollah's own son, but several of those have been eliminated as well by Israel. But the president of Iran is apparently still alive and well. And so Putin called him just, offering help or whatever. So Russia is definitely an ally of Iran at this point. In the video last week, we heard Michael Garamy say that in years past, communist Russia and Muslim Iran were at odds with one another. They were, historically, communism and Islam have not worked together very well at all. And Russia has fought against several Muslim countries like Afghanistan. You remember the invasion of Afghanistan? Not many remember that. Okay, they got bogged down in there, and it didn't work out well. They had to withdraw. Then we got bogged down in there. they've also attacked in the Balkan states, Georgia and Azerbaijan, some other countries there, and that has the Chechens. That hasn't gone well for Russia. But of late, Iran and communist Russia are fast friends. So if we see communism and Islam become allies globally, I don't know, that's like, that would seem to point us to the end times right there. Those are two major godless, anti-God, anti-gospel factions that are massive. And so then China and Russia have both condemned what the United States and Israel is doing. No great surprise. They're both anti-Semitic as well. I haven't heard much from North Korea, but they would follow along with the big guys. Nevertheless, what Mr. Trump has done in the first 12-day war we had 6 months ago, and then in Venezuela, where we go and just extricate a man out of his own country, out of his own fortress, without the loss of a single American. That is, don't think that China and Russia didn't take note of that. And because I'm sure they're all saying, I don't think we could have done that. No, not without mowing down the whole country. So they're kind of set back for now, anyway. For now, they're kind of set back away from the thing and just talking about it. But again, if Russia was not embroiled in Ukraine, they would be much more apt to get directly involved or threaten direct involvement in this, which would be a greater problem. Good question. Any other questions? It's interesting to note that the president of Iran just the other day apologized to the Arab states around them, all those numbers I just read, apologized for all of those attacks and said it won't happen anymore unless you Arab states attack us first. And apparently, Iran didn't stop attacking them at all. So he apologized and said, we'll stop, and they didn't stop. The attacks continue. That probably just shows that the leadership is fractured and he doesn't have his hands on the steering wheel at all. So nobody knows right now who's in control over there. The thing is far from over, I would guess. This thing could drag on a little while. Okay. No other questions? You got everything in hand there. Watch this week. It's going to get interesting. A third aircraft carrier is getting ready to depart from Norfolk, Virginia. The George H.W. Bush, that's ironic, is headed the largest warship in the world, the Gerald R. Ford, which is over there, has now transited the Suez Canal. It was off the coast of Israel in the Mediterranean, having to fly its fighters like 1,000 miles to get to Iran and 1,000 miles back again. So they have moved it, which is remarkable, that during a time of war, an aircraft carrier can move through the Suez Canal, which means it has no way to avoid anything. You're stuck in this lane, move through the Suez Canal, and is now joining up with the Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea, and much closer now. And so then we've got a third aircraft carrier, which is really unprecedented, going over there to be. It'll take several days to get there. But it does indicate that this will probably take a while. So anyway, keep an eye on things. Things are hopping. All right, let's go. I want to take a little bit of time to go back to Chorazin. We were at Chorazin, but we didn't finish it. So maybe I'll show you first where Chorazin is. We don't have, there's like none of the disciples were from Chorazin. But there's three cities that we've been talking about here. And all three of them are ruins. Do you know why they're all ruins? You say because they're old. No. Jerusalem is old. It's not ruins. And Bethlehem is old, and that's not ruins. Hebron is old, and that's not ruins. Why are these three ruins? Anybody know? Capernaum, Chorazin, and Bethsaida. House of fish. Bethsaida. Why are they ruins? Because Jesus cursed them. Woe unto you. So there's nobody living there now. You can see Chorazin, the ruins of Chorazin is here. The ruins of Bethsaida is here. And hang on, let me zoom in and you'll see. There's Capernaum. Shows up here. So we've spent some time in Capernaum, quite a bit of time. That's the most significant archaeological dig of the three. But Chorazin here is 2 miles. This is 2 miles, and this is 4 miles. But this area right here, this is where Jesus spent significant amount of his time. The people that sat in darkness have seen a great light. And he was referring, to people beyond this too, but this is the hub of where Jesus did his ministry and gave his teaching. The Sermon on the Mount happened here. Many of these things, many of these stories in the New Testament happened in this area. We're going to go, probably not today, but we're also going to go down the coast here to Tabgha. And then around the corner, that's 1.5 miles. We're going to go down here to Gennesaret, which is Gennesaret. Gennesaret is Gennesaret. So we're going to visit those places as we have time, as we look at what's happening here. But we're going to go up to Chorazin first, 2 miles up into the hills. So let me get pull up some of the pictures again that I took when we were in Chorazin. All right. I did not tell you yet what this is. Reserve this. But this is from the synagogue in Chorazin, from the synagogue. And I'm going to tell you here yet, in the last few minutes that we have, what that is. That's kind of surprising. Okay. A little bit of a video here. Showing you the ruins of Chorazin. Did you see Pastor Byron in there? But I always Miss Beverly says, I'm never in them. She's always hiding behind a pillar somewhere. Okay, here, I'll play it one more time. You see if you can see. Who's that? Mavis, where are you? Where's Mavis? We're looking for you. You must have been with Miss Beverly eating a shake or something somewhere. A hamburger. Okay, this I had shown you called the seat of Moses, the judgment seat. This was found in this in the synagogue of Chorazin, and these walls have been restood because this was completely ruins. Then we showed you the steps leading into the synagogue, and just a couple of weeks ago we showed you how the rise of these steps are different heights. You can see obviously a big riser here in the first one, these first couple. Then they get narrow up here, and that was on purpose so that you could not walk into the synagogue without looking. It's two things actually. Without thought, you just couldn't walk up there. You'd fall on your face if you weren't concentrating on your steps. So they did it on purpose. It wasn't poor craftsmanship. But the other thing was, the other purpose, it was said, that I didn't mention to you, was that it required you then to have your eyes down as you entered. So so this idea that you would actually be bowed a little bit with your head down as you entered into the synagogue, hopefully then a little better sense of worship. Oh yeah, throw that in there. Okay, so then some of these things put back up the ministry of antiquities there in Israel, but you can see how complete the ruins, the destruction of Chorazin. And some of the work that they're doing, mosaics they've discovered. It would not have been a city like some that we've looked in, Beit Shean, that was a Roman city and had a lot of wealth in it. This is my daughter taking these pictures, okay? Not me. So she's got to get the wildlife in there. I would turn around, she'd be missing. But, I'm sure for good reason there. A little different than the little guys we have around here, huh? Just a little. There he is, our guide sitting in the seat of Moses there. And acting out the part of a Pharisee that would come in there. Okay. What is this? This is remarkable. Prominent head in the synagogue of Chorazin. Now, this synagogue dates to after the time of Christ by maybe a couple hundred years. So it isn't that Jesus would have necessarily seen that, though it's possible that, that the previous synagogue before this would have had the same, I don't know. But it is early centuries AD, 1800 years ago. Jews had that in their synagogue, carved into the basalt, the black stone of their synagogue. Anybody know what that is? I don't know if you can read that. In Greek mythology, Medusa was one of the three Gorgons. Whoever dared to look her in the face was instantly turned to stone. Perseus, averting his eyes, succeeded in killing her, and the winged horse Pegasus was born from her flowing blood. That is unbelievably wicked. Pagan. A Roman goddess in the synagogue 2 miles from where Jesus lived and ministered in Capernaum. This is the state of Israel in the day of Jesus. Though this may have come afterward, no doubt the condition of Israel is similar. The Roman gods, they had accepted those things. And not just, in the synagogue? Well, that only means that it's already been fully accepted in their culture and in their homes and in their schools for it to be finally in the synagogue. Well, Solomon had idols all over Jerusalem and even in the temple. Many times in the very temple in Jerusalem, predating this by hundreds of years, there would rise up a godly king of Judah who would clean the temple out with its idols. And you're thinking, how did those idols get in the temple? There's a lesson here for us, by the way. Are there idols in the temple? But you're seeing it. And of all the gods and goddesses, Medusa is just a wicked fable. So that is, there was one other thing here. I don't know if you see anything out of the ordinary. This is my daughter taking pictures again. Can you see anything? Can you pick them? Because this is biblical. Medusa's not, but what you're seeing here is. Okay, I got it. I think I heard turtle, but it's not a turtle. Katie, conies. Do you see the conies? The only residents of Chorazin today, well, the lizards, cousins to the coney, probably not. What does the Bible say about conies? They dwell safely in the rocks. You're looking at it. You know, the Lord commends them for their habitation being a safe one because they dwell in the rocks. Conies. Can you see them? They are, I think I remember they are related to rabbits somehow, somewhat. They were actually an unclean animal. Jews were not allowed to eat them. They're not kosher. They chew the cud, but they don't divide the hoof. So for that reason, like a camel, they're unclean. Whereas cattle chew the cud and divide the hoof, so they're clean. But conies were unclean. Just Jews were not able to eat them. Oh, there we are, climbing trees. I don't know why we did that. Anyway. All right. Well, Chorazin. Just to finish it out, the Medusa thing, that's mind-blowing right there. But that has been the struggle between righteousness and unrighteousness in every age, and adapting to the ways of the world, just bringing it in. Do you think anybody in Chorazin, I don't know, walked into the synagogue and said, "What is that doing in here? That's terrible"? I doubt it. I think they thought that was the greatest thing. "Daddy, what's that all about?" And you told stories. I'll tell you, it's more about Medusa and the Roman gods and all. They just totally accepted it. There are things that we accept in our culture that are exactly the same. That genuine believers from another age would look at us and say, "What are you doing? What is the matter with you?" Of course, God's holiness is really the point. God is grieved. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that friendship with the world is enmity with God? And that's the friendship of the world in the synagogue, the place of prayer. What did Jesus do? He cleaned the temple. You have made my Father's house. Now, synagogue isn't the temple, but it was a place of worship. Jesus went there. Paul would go into the synagogue in every city that he came to first to give the gospel to the Jews. Anyway, all right, well, pray for Israel. These are perilous times for our allies and friends, the Jews. All right, you are dismissed. I'll see you for morning service. You like those conies? You should have one.